Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson and just before Randy Wang and the 790 KBC News Blitz at 5. Mottek On Money, live on the air now, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com and the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Another rough day for stocks and Bitcoin. The market down for the fourth session in a row with tech names like NVIDIA in focus and some big blue chip names like Home Depot under pressure as well. We see the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 557 points at the closing bell here at 46,590. It was just about a week ago that the Dow had hit a record high above 48K. The S&P 500 down 62 points today to 6,672, and the NASDAQ down nearly 200 again today at 22,708. The yield in the 10-year note now at 4.14%. Bitcoin cracking below 90,000 for a while. Right now, just below 92,000. On the AI front, we saw a new survey that found 45% of fund managers see an AI bubble as the top tail risk for markets now, and a surge of concern that companies are overspending mostly on AI-related projects, according to the Wall Street Journal, ahead of tomorrow's, or actually Thursday's, delayed September jobs report. Another report from ADP suggested private sector job losses moderated heading into the month of November. In the meantime, the Labor Department numbers showed weekly initial jobless claims stood at 232,000 for mid-October. Home Depot cutting its annual outlook because of the continued downturn in home improvement activity these days. Home Depot stock down about 6%. That was its biggest one-day drop since February of 2023. Lowe's, another big box retailer, is set to report earnings on Wednesday, tomorrow. Taking a look at NVIDIA, the stock pulling back today by more than $5, back to $181 and change. Ahead of its earnings news, all eyes will be on NVIDIA, as well as Walmart this week. We'll be getting other earnings reports from Palo Alto Networks, Target, as well as others. So, a Reuters report today that said NVIDIA options implied a 7% move in either direction in the wake of its quarterly report, and that could trigger a $320 billion swing in the chip maker's market value, which would mark its largest move in post-earnings. Klarna out with earnings today, reporting a 26% jump in third-quarter revenue. Klarna shares down $3.25 today to 31 and change. This is interesting. The Trump administration will give Constellation Energy a $1 billion federal loan to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant that suffered a partial core meltdown back in 1979. Well, we've seen fire and we've seen rain in the Los Angeles area. It's already a record-shattering November as far as rainfall is concerned. More rain and snow in the forecast after a bit of a breather. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about it with the one and only Rick Dickert, longtime TV news broadcast meteorologist here in Los Angeles, also an aviation service weather observer on this big storm we've seen lately. 53% of American homes lost value over the past year, according to a new Zillow report. We'll take a closer look at that with Jeff Lazerson, the president of MortgageGrader.com, and also Orange County Register real estate columnist. But first on your money, the markets, the economy, crypto, gold, and the whole works now. Joining us live, Jim HAUSBERG, managing director at Hightower Advisors, the HAUSBERG Group in Beverly Hills. Jim, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, thanks for having me. It's been too long, but I'm glad to be on today. So let's go.
Yeah, a lot's happened. It's been a while since we chatted behind live microphones. Jim, give us your view of this latest market action here today.
Yeah, well, I would say today and really the last few days have been somewhat of a pullback. Markets really got ahead of themselves, and as a result, we're seeing things come in. I don't feel like we're in a correction stage yet. S&P may be down 4.5. As you said before, markets hit all-time highs, 10 or 12 days ago, and markets just don't, turn bearish after moves like that. So I would expect markets to be higher. keep an eye on the volatility. If the VIX really moves up from here, it might be a good time to add to your favorite positions. But all sectors in the economy are showing positive returns for the S&P this year. Even real estate's edged up a little bit, but tech is still the place to be. And, that's part of what's been happening. They call it a little beta unwind because those names, the Mag 7, have dominated so much that when they give up ground like they have, all of them, you're going to see the market pull back. But wouldn't be overly concerned where things are going from here.
All right, you mentioned the Mag 7, and there's the Magnificent One, NVIDIA, which hit also record highs not too long ago, pulling back lately ahead of its earnings report. What do you think is going to happen when that report comes out, and what's your view on NVIDIA here?
Well, the most recent quarterly reports on NVIDIA have been incredible, but the stock has sold off each time and then only to move higher. It's hard to believe the stock was down to, below $100 a share on the Liberation Day period, and is now, trading at 180. It's just down from 210. So, for sake of argument, the stock has doubled over, the past 5 months from the low. And if you go back over the past several years, it's been a home run. I mean, it's been a huge winner. The revenue numbers are amazing. Their margins are strong. The spend on AI is off the charts, and they're a big benefactor of it. So, over the long term, I still think it's a hold. And if it gets weaker, I buy it.
All right. The crypto folks having a rough time. I know someone who told me today, after looking at Bitcoin below $90 today, that he was going to go home and have a beer insulted with his tears. What about crypto here, Jim Hausberg, especially Bitcoin? Of course, down about 30,000 now since its all-time high above 126,000 not too long ago, and now hovering at around 90,000 here.
Well, you and I have talked about it for years. I've never been a fan. I've never been able to figure out what it's worth or why and how it's going to be used. But it's been, an incredible momentum trade for the last, year and change, and not surprised to see it pull back. Frank, nothing changes market sentiment more than price. So when the prices start heading down, sentiment gets negative. When the prices really continue to move, sentiment becomes positive. So right now we're in this pullback period. It's pulled back a few times from highs and then rallied again. So it could do it again, but if you're a true momentum person, you probably wait a little bit before you put some money back in there because the volatility is not going away in that.
Yeah. Have you warmed up to cryptos at all with the ETFs and including some new ones that just came out in the last week or so?
No, I have not. I did hear this morning on the radio that the Harvard Endowment, one of the largest endowments out there in the education space, has put a big chunk into crypto. I don't know if it's a fact or not, but I heard that. I was kind of surprised, but that probably gives it some credence. And of course, all these ETFs that are out there now, and some banks turning positive on it. It's like, to me, you got to be able to evaluate these things, and I just have no means to figure that out. But it's certainly been a winning trade for a lot of people. And then those who jumped on, a few weeks ago are down 30%. So good luck with that. It's just too much of a mover for me and my clients.
Well, certainly we talked to the biggest fans of crypto here, as well as the harshest critics and everyone in between. So thanks for taking that, Jim Hausberg. And what about nuclear? We see Constellation Energy on this news, $1 billion federal loan to restart, of all places, the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. I never thought I'd saw that headline, but there it is. And Constellation Energy shares hovering around 339 and change. A lot of talk about energy companies nowadays as it relates to AI as well as crypto mining and so forth. What do you think of this one and the energy space overall?
Well, the need for power is off the charts, especially with AI. But it's been this way for a while. The only way I've played it is there's the uranium company that powers all these nuclear facilities, which I think are going to reopen, not just 3 Mile Island, but others are being built. There's a company called Cameco, which is out of Canada, similar to CCJ. I've owned it for a long time for this one reason. As much as nuclear can be, frightening to some, and if there's issues, like 3 Mile Island had, 40, 50 years ago, could be a problem. But at the same time, it's clean. It is good for the environment. And I just think you're going to see a build out of more nuclear facilities around the globe. So I'm sort of bullish on that sector.
All right. And what about oil hovering around $60 a barrel? Looks like the ceasefire deal, for the most part, has held. And we've seen epic developments this year with the U.S. and Israel wiping out Iran's nuclear program and so forth. And oil has come down in the face of all of this. What about oil here?
Yeah, I mean, it's really come down quite a bit, except where we live, Frank. You go
right.
to gas
Here it's up.
Here, it's through the roof. The taxes are huge. I was just back east. I was in Florida, matter of fact, and I paid $3 a gallon. Here I pay, $5.60 or whatever, maybe $5, whatever the numbers are. But anyway, I like living here. The energy stocks have underperformed, but they're starting to peak up a little bit. As money comes out of some of these high momentum, volatile beta names, you're starting to see it go into healthcare a little bit, which is underperformed as well, and energy. So as I said before, all these sectors are showing positive returns. But I look at some of these sectors like energy and healthcare that are behind the market, and there's a few ETFs you can buy to get exposure.
All right, going down the commodity list, what about gold? I think last time we spoke, gold was about $2,000. Now it's above $4,000.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Family Matters amplifies the loudest and the proudest political voices in the Black community today.
What's up, guys? I'm CJ Pearson. There's so many incredible perspectives here in the Black community that you're going to hear from each and every week.
Because faith matters, country matters, and family matters.
This is exactly what the mainstream media was missing by not actually going to Black churches, going to Black barbershops, talking to the people at the forefront of this change in the community. Let me start here.
Family Matters with CJ Pearson.
Each and every week. We'll see you here. Talk to you soon.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
4,000, hitting a record high around 4,500 not too long ago. What about the precious metals here?
Well, I think, again, that's a great momentum trade. It's worked out well. I keep looking at the charts and figuring out when you want to buy in. But, it's certainly worked with all this global uncertainty. The dollar's been weak, it has been weak. There's all this uncertainty, on the global picture, the global macro story, things coming out of Washington. It's certainly been a place that a lot of money has gone, but it's still under-owned by most people. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it trade higher and probably buy it on weakness.
On the air live with Jim HAUSBERG at Hightower Advisors, the HAUSBERG Group in Beverly Hills. And the holiday season underway. I didn't see you on Rodeo Drive the other night when the holiday season got kicked off there in Beverly Hills. And last night, a big event at the Grove with Rick Caruso there. And the holiday season getting kicked off in a spectacular fashion with the lighting of the largest Christmas tree on the West Coast last night right here at the Grove. What about the holiday season? How would you size up the retailers, and what's the outlook there?
I still, first of all, it's a great time of the year, even though we've had some bad weather out here, as was discussed before I got on. It's a beautiful day, and hopefully the rain is past us a little bit. Great time of the year to be out here, clear air and beautiful green now from the rain, which we needed. But as far as the retail space goes, it's hard to pick individual names, but I think Amazon is the big winner and continues to be. I know it's just a piece of their business, but, the amount of things being purchased online and being delivered through the roof, it's really incredible. I don't know. It's a generational thing. I like to go to the store and buy things, but my kids buy everything online and can't even believe that I actually go to a restaurant to pick up food to go as opposed to having it delivered. But those are the things of the future. I think retail is mixed out there. Really depends what sector and what part of the country. And the lower end stuff's not doing as well. Home Depot announced today, some weaker earnings. So it's probably a mixed bag. I started noticing some of the big European high-end stuff doing well. I would say it should be a decent holiday season. It's hard to pick which winners specifically, but to me, I'd go online and take Amazon.
Very interesting. And overall, it's been a pretty decent earnings season here in the third quarter. What about some of the other ones that are coming out this week. Of course, we touched on NVIDIA, earnings coming out tomorrow. But as far as the other retailers, Walmart, which hit a record high recently, will be out with earnings this week. Target, and any of those getting your attention?
Not really specifically to those retailers. Some things pop up occasionally on sneaker company ON. That's done pretty well. They had good earnings. I think the athletic space continues to be interesting. Nike's a great name to buy, big brand name that's way behind the market. So, and they've got some new folks there and trying to get that thing back and going again. But other than that, there's really not much that stands out to me in the retail space that I would get excited about.
All right. And then, of course, the airlines had their issue with the government shutdown and all that. More attention will be focused on holiday travel now. Are you touching any of the airlines here?
Not really. I do think they're probably a good trade in here. They've come down quite a bit. Alaska's a quality airline that we like out here. I read positive things about Alaska Air, and it was a $70 stock. It's now a $40 stock or $41, so you might want to look at that. I think there's some value in the airlines. Delta's down quite a bit. Don't follow them closely, but there's an ETF symbol JETS, JETS. Fortunately, it's not the New York Jets, which has not been a winner for a long time, but the airlines that are in there, you get a piece of all of them by owning the ETF Jets, JETS.
All right, nothing to do with Broadway Joe. That's the last time the Jets were Joe Namath, so it's been a few years now. Any specific places, Jim HAUSBERG, where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
We've used certain securities that we feel are defensive. There's some mutual funds out there, FPA Crescent Fund, local firm here on the west side. They run a fund called the FPA Crescent Fund. It's done very well over a long period of time, very defensive. They hold cash, which they're able to put to work if markets weaken. And they also own a lot of names in the value space, but can go anywhere they want, whether it's credit or equities, large or small. I think that's great to give a portfolio manager that type of leeway, as opposed to just being long, large cap or small cap or international for that matter. On that note, foreign markets look to be acting well and holding in there better than U.S., at least over the near term. So we continue to put money into foreign markets as well. As far as taking off the table, nothing really looks to me to be sold in here. I don't sell things just because I think they're going to correct a little bit, because I want to own them over the long haul. NVIDIA is a perfect example of that. So not really lightening up anywhere, looking to add in the more defensive areas and some areas of the market that are out of favor.
All right. And what about the Fed's next move? A lot of attention on that. And looks like bets are being shifted as to what they're going to do next month. Where do you think interest rates are going? What do you think the Fed is going to do next month?
Well, that's the real predicament out here. We're looking at unemployment rates probably moving higher. We'll get the jobs report on Thursday. So you kind of think the Fed could ease based on that, and then you got the inflation concerns that could move prices higher, and the Fed doesn't really want to lower rates during higher inflation. In fact, they raise rates when inflation's moving up. So I mean, it's really out there. Powell has a very tough job in trying, and the committee. Because those are two things. I mean, they're there to do two things. They're there to make sure the economy grows steady, but without inflation. Is there an inflation impact from the tariffs that we haven't seen yet? I think so. Everybody I speak to is talking about how much more things cost. Supermarkets, we've heard the same thing, the whole affordability issues. So, they're not going to lower rates if the inflation numbers kick up, but they have been fairly steady. And we'll see where the employment numbers go. Kind of a mixed bag. I would say probably a quarter point to answer your question. It was 90% likely. Now it's like in the 50% likely. So that can change. I remember years ago, Frank, when they predicted 8 cuts several years ago, and then it was only 2 cuts. So we'll see. But I think companies that can borrow money in the 4 or 5% range should do pretty good, and hopefully mortgage rates come down as well. But that hasn't really happened much yet.
All right, we're going to be talking more about that later this hour with Jeff Lazarson, as a matter of fact. So, Jim, you got extra credit. It was a down day, and you came on with us here, so we appreciate it. Speaking of affordability, it looks like crypto and stocks have become more affordable, so there is some silver lining there. So, Jim, thank you very, very much.
There is.
Thanks very much, Jim Hausberg, for joining us live here this afternoon. Jim Hausberg, Managing Director at Hightower Advisors, the HAUSBERG Group in Beverly Hills. Live with us here, Mottek On Money, 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Not a good day on Wall Street again. Down for the fourth session in a row here with the Dow down 557 at the closing bell. Back to 46,590. S&P 500 down 62 at 6,672. And the NASDAQ down 192 points at 22,708. The yield in the 10-year note now to 4.14%. Home Depot leading the market lower today, down more than $21 at $336 and change. Home Depot cutting its annual outlook due to the continued downturn in home improvement activity nowadays. NVIDIA, the Magnificent One, also taking another hit, down more than $5 to $181 and change ahead of its earnings report tomorrow. Apple down 2 cents at $267 and change. Tesla down nearly 8 at $401.25. Oracle in the plus column up 63 cents at $220.49. Google down 74 cents at $284.28 after hitting a record high just yesterday. And Constellation Energy down 68 cents at $339.35. Looks like the U.S. government is loaning that company $1 billion to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. Price of gold hovering above $4,000. Right now at $4,067 and change. Silver back above $50 an ounce, up 2 cents at $50.54. Crude oil futures pulling back 5 cents at $60.69 a barrel. Checking those cryptos now. It was a rough day for Bitcoin, which cracked below 90,000 for a while, then rebounded to around 95,000. Right now, just below 92K. Ethereum is holding above 3,000, was below 3K earlier. XRP at 221. Solana at 140. Doge at 16 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Well, we have certainly seen fire and we've seen rain in the Los Angeles area this year. It's already a record-shattering November as far as rainfall is concerned, and more rain and snow is in the forecast after a bit of a breather today. Let's talk about this record rain and what it could mean for mud, rock, and landslides out there. Joining us live now is Rick Dickert, longtime TV news broadcast meteorologist here in Los Angeles, also an aviation surface weather observer. They say we have meteorologists in the world to make economists look good. And, Rick, it's always great to have you with us here. You're always looking and sounding great. Thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me, Frank. And you said it. We started the year in January, on January 7th, with those two devastating fires, the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. And now we're talking about the wettest November in Los Angeles in 43 years. And our record-keeping for Los Angeles goes back to 1877. And mentioning the fire season, that is so important because right now into December is typically the peak of that season, coming off our long, dry summers that our Mediterranean climate has here in Southern California. And then we get those powerful Santa Ana winds that could fuel any ignition. This rain is soaking up the ground significantly and limiting that danger dramatically as compared to last year. Leading into both the Eaton and Palisades fire on January 7th, we had only received 16/100ths of an inch of rain from the start of the water season. And our water year here in Southern California begins on October 1st and then ends on September 30th of the next year. So in terms of that, we're looking good.
Fantastic. On there live with Rick Dickert. I love the picture you posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. I just retweeted it. And so thanks for putting that out there, Rick Dickert. What's ahead here? We had a pretty nice day today, actually, certainly in Culver City here at the station. And what's ahead for tomorrow and for the rest of the week?
And today was pleasant here in Southern California, behind the second of 3 weather systems. So we still have one more weather system to get through, and that will move through Southern.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Family Matters amplifies the loudest and the proudest political voices in the Black community today.
What's up, guys? I'm CJ Pearson. There's so many incredible perspectives here in the Black community that you're going to hear from each and every week.
Because faith matters, country matters, and family matters.
This is exactly what the mainstream media was missing by not actually going to Black churches, going to Black barbershops, talking to the people at the forefront of this change in the community. Let me start here.
Family Matters with CJ Pearson.
Each and every week, we'll see you here. Talk to you soon.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
In California, Thursday into Friday morning. Not as significant in terms of rainfall totals like we saw over the weekend. On Saturday, the wettest November day since 1952 in Los Angeles, when we received 1.65 inches. This next weather system should dump anywhere between a half an inch to an inch of rain in the coastal and valley areas. Again, that's Thursday afternoon through Friday evening. However, the ground is already quite soaked. It's saturated because of the days of rain here in Southern California. So we are still going to be vulnerable in terms of rock, mud, and debris flows.
On there live with Rick Dickert. Yeah, it was just about 24 hours ago when those special advisories came out. And tell us, based on your assessments, I know you're also, you fly quite a bit too and get aerial views of things here that other people don't get. Any areas of specific concern at the moment?
Yeah, that's right. My years up as a reporter in the helicopter gave me a very unique view of our area and those areas that are vulnerable. And we are watching those burn scars, especially those recent burn scars, the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire above Altadena and Pasadena. Those hillsides are very vulnerable to those rock, mud, and debris flows. The National Weather Service, the USGS, we watch rainfall rates and determine if those areas are vulnerable to those slides, and we will be watching those as of right now. Again, we're going to get a little bit of a break, a brief dry out before that next weather system, a colder weather system, which means lower snow levels yet again, just like this one that moved through last night. And we could see up to an inch, maybe even a little bit more over those burn scars. So again, the concern is still there, but we're not anticipating the full rainfall totals that we did with the system over the weekend. That 1.65 inches for downtown LA, the wettest November 15th since 1952. And the water year now, and I mentioned that starting on October 1st, Frank, our water year now is at 4.88 inches. That's nearly 4 inches above where we should be for November 18th. That total is 3.96 inches. So again, we're in good shape in terms of how much precipitation we are receiving early on in the season. It's lessening that fire danger. It's loading up those reservoirs, which we desperately need. We just don't want too much rain in too short of a period to create those issues for those recent burn areas.
Love that you keep such close track of all of this. Given the vast destruction due to the fire in the Palisades, which burned an area larger than Manhattan, which is hard to even imagine, and that whole area denuded there, and now this heavy rainfall, is there a special risk of just flat-out landslides like we saw at La Conchita years ago when the whole mountainside came down?
You know, there's always that possibility, and there are a lot of areas of Southern California, the hillsides, that didn't even burn, that did pick up quite a bit of precipitation. So those hillsides will be watched, and they are all vulnerable when we get this type of rain. Again, too much rain over too short of a period could cause those problems. And once again, Frank, the National Weather Service, the USGS, they will be watching those hillsides, keeping close track on those rainfall rates to determine if there's any vulnerability for those slides. And they will issue watches or warnings. And again, if you live in those areas, heed those watches and warnings. If a watch is in effect, that means that flooding, the rock, mud, and debris flows, they're possible. If a watch is upgraded to a warning, that means that flooding, that rock, mud, and debris flow situation is either already occurring or it is imminent.
We definitely need to reconnect with the Honorable John Cruikshank, a former mayor of the Palos Verdes area there. They had that land movement there as well along that stretch there where the road is like a roller coaster now because of all that land movement and rock and mudslides there in that area in the Palos Verdes Peninsula.
Yeah, that's right. We're watching that area as well. Always vulnerable around Portuguese Bend there, south of the South Bay area. We've received a lot of rain. Again, our rainfall season, our water year, which starts on October 1st for downtown Los Angeles, already close to 4 inches above average. And by the way, that rain gauge we mentioned for downtown Los Angeles, It's at another Frank location, Frank. It's at the LAFD Frank Hodgkin Memorial Training Center in Elysian Park, just south of Dodger Stadium, our world champion Dodgers.
That's right. Well, at least the weather held up during the World Series.
That's right. Absolutely. So one more weather system to get through. And ironically, I should say that we are in a weak La Nina year, and that typically means lower than average precipitation for Southern California. Not all La Ninas, but most of them. And we were forecasting, most meteorologists, most government forecasters were indicating that rainfall would be below average for Southern California. Not the case. Again, LA is currently in the midst of its wettest November since 1982. And 1982 through 1983, that was that epic El Nino year. Warmer than average sea surface temperatures out over the equatorial Pacific. We saw over 30 inches of rain. The coast was battered by high surf. We even saw a tornado in downtown LA that damaged the convention center. But now we are in this La Nina year. And after this next weather system, heading into Thanksgiving, people already looking ahead, making plans. It looks like we're in for another abrupt weather change for dry weather here in Southern California, Thanksgiving and beyond. So just because we are receiving quite a bit of rain, we got that storm in October and then into November now, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods in terms of a drier than average season. We have to keep that rainfall going into December.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Rick Dickert, longtime TV news broadcast meteorologist here in Los Angeles, also aviation service weather observer, also big on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rick Dickert WX. Thank you very much, Rick, for joining us live here this afternoon.
Appreciate it always. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Out to the freeways now on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Did you see the Zillow report on home values? Looks like more than half of American homes lost value in the past year, the most seen since 2012. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jeff Lazerson, the president of MortgageRater.com, also Orange County Register real estate columnist, who, of course, also keeps close track of mortgage rates. So why don't we start with that, Jeff? How are the rates looking this week?
Rates are looking fair, Frank. Not great, not bad. The rates are up a little bit from last week. Freddie Mac is at 6.24%. The 30-year fixed locally is at 5 7/8% at 1 point cost. The 15-year fix is at 5 1/4% at 1 point cost, and that's up to 806,500 loan amount. So if you go to 806,501 to 1,209,750 in Los Angeles and Orange counties, the high balance loan is what we call it, 6 1/4% on the 30-year and 5 3/4 on the 15-year. The jumbo loans are at 6 1/8%, so they're holding in a pattern, just up and down a little bit, but about where they've been for a while.
All right, where do you see the rates go from here?
Boy, Frank, that is a dangerous question. I'll tell you that, the last week when some of these Fed governors started talking about maybe we're not going to see a 1/4 point drop in December when the Fed meets, the bond market really reacted negatively and rates have gone up. And so I still think that they're going to drop at a 1/4 point. I'm looking at all the job losses and things like that. So my bet is that rates will rally again and mortgage rates will come down a little bit more between now and the end of the year, maybe 5 3/4, 5 1/2, somewhere in there.
Our last time you were on, we were talking about President Trump's proposal for a 50-year mortgage. Any more movement on that?
Well, I got a lot of response from it. I wrote a column about it, and I've had a lot of talk, a lot in the media about it. I actually think that could work, and I think it could work well just because it could help people get in, squeeze them into a lower payment, and then once they grow into it, they refinance to a 30-year fix. Most people don't keep their loans more than 5, 7, or 10 years. So I really see the utility in it. What I'm not sure about, though, is the portable mortgage. That was the other idea that he had. And I don't know if you remember this, but a million years ago, Angelo Mazzillo from Countrywide, he had come up with that idea of a portable mortgage where you could take it from one house to another. So if you're sitting on a 3% interest rate, you don't want to move, but if you can move that 3% with you, you would move. So, but I don't see that one coming to pass, but I do see the 50-year mortgage has a chance.
Very interesting. Angelo Mazzillo, a name from the past during the mortgage meltdown days, former head of Countrywide Mortgage, based right here in Southern California. And certainly was heavily under investigation back in those days, right? But before he passed away, he was getting standing ovations again at these mortgage conferences, right?
Yeah, I wrote about it. That the Wall Street Journal picked it up. I was at this conference in Vegas, a mortgage broker conference, and they had him speaking, and nothing about the bad things he did, only the good things. And to his credit, he did do some good things as well. But I couldn't believe people giving him a standing ovation, and it's like, are you kidding me? And most of the crowd was a lot younger, and I think maybe a lot of them just didn't remember those days. But it was quite a scene, and I'll never forget it.
Isn't that something? I remember when you mentioned that some time ago, and it certainly is unforgettable. Now, what about the Zillow report that came out just in the last day or so about most American homes losing value over the past year?
Well, I see that in the Orange County Register. We have in the Sunday paper, we have a piece in there about the zip codes in Orange County, what went up and what went down, and a lot of them have been going down in value. So I could see it nationally, and we have good fortune here, living in Southern California, with the sunshine tax and the demand for people to want to live here. So we're luckier than most areas, but a lot of areas the values are dropping, especially where they're doing a lot more building. Texas and Florida have been hit pretty hard, and I think Tennessee, but I'm not sure. But anyways, the point being that prices are coming down a lot in certain areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if they keep dropping, because you think about all the job losses. A lot of big companies have been talking about these big layoffs that they're doing, and company after company, and so that has a ripple effect. The other thing that has a ripple effect that I've had some of my clients complaining about is what's happening with ICE and the I don't know if you want to call them undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants, but a lot of them are fearful, and they're hiding and not coming out, and so businesses are really taking it badly. There's a lot less business in certain areas because of that. So between the big company job losses and the ICE raids and stuff, I could really see a downturn in the economy for sure. Interesting.
I just zoomed in on this Zillow report showing shares of homes decreasing in value in the Los Angeles area, 78.5%. That's the
wow.
Isn't that something? That's something you may want to take a look at here. Loss of value has been most widespread out here in the West, as well as in the South, especially in Florida, along the Gulf Coast of Florida. Tampa, St. Pete area has seen quite a hit following two hurricanes last year, which they're still trying to recover from. But that's interesting to see how dramatic the percentage of homes losing value here in this area. But that, of course, after a tremendous run-up. What do you see ahead for home prices here?
Well, I started thinking about that because I got to do my year-end predictions. I actually think they're gonna go down next year. Not a ton, but they're going to go down a little. I know NAR predicted, National Association of Realtors predicted, I think a 14% increase in values next year. So I'm not thinking that way. I think it's going to go either flat or a little bit lower, just because the cost of living is so difficult for people. The insurance cost for a home, property taxes, utilities, and just basic living besides all that stuff. And inflation rates are sure outpacing job raises and salary raises, and so I think it's going to be soft. I'm not optimistic. If interest rates come down a lot, and they could, then it'll sort of counterbalance it, and then they'll prop up more. But if interest rates don't come down, I think prices are going to come down next year, and I would say in this area, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, something like that.
Very interesting. And, of course, the massive rebuilding is slowly continuing in the Palisades and in Altadena. There are reports that foreign buyers are swooping in to buy up some of these properties, possibly even Chinese buyers. So we're following that story. Anything that you picked up on that recently?
No, not really. I hear a little bit about it, but not a lot. Just mainly a lot of the people that lost their homes from the fires. a lot of them just don't want to deal with it, and so they are selling. That's mainly what I've been hearing, is they just don't want to go through that process of rebuilding, and they'll just let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah. Jeff, we'll look for your column this weekend. Thank you very much for taking the call on some pretty big news here. That is Jeff Lazerson, the president of MortgageGrader.com, based right here in Southern California. Also, Orange County Register real estate columnist. Jeff, always great to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining us live this afternoon.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow's going to be another big day. We'll be on it, of course. Let's see how the stock market sizes up things here with the Dow down 557 at the closing bell today. NVIDIA earnings coming in tomorrow. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang, and I'll be back with more at 4 right here tomorrow afternoon on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC Los Angeles, California.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.